Hey guys, how is everybody doing? And continuing my video game review series of the Resident Evil franchise leading up to the release of Resident Evil Requiem just 2 weeks away. I can nearly feel it. Here are my thoughts on Resident Evil 3 Remake. Now, before I do get into my review on this, I do think it is worth saying that I have never played the original Resident Evil 3. I've played bits of 1 and 2, like the originals, but I never really completed them. Like, I played enough of them to say that, oh, I actually gave it a shot. Resident Evil 3 has just never been one of them, and honestly, I don't really have an excuse nor a reason. I just haven't. I don't know why. I do plan to play it because I do want to do a big Resident Evil ranking after this, but I have never played it, and from what I hear, there is a lot of differences between the original and remake, which I guess every original and remake does, but the remakes have been pretty similar to their original predecessors. But with this one, supposedly there's a lot of changes, which I will be getting into that later into the video, but yeah, I felt like that was worth saying, but yeah, I've never played the original, so my thoughts might be a bit different from others since I haven't played it, but I don't know. As always, starting off with my positives on Resident Evil 3 Remake is basically anything I had to say positively about the Resident Evil 2 Remake, you can basically just say the same thing here because this remake basically does everything that the Resident Evil 2 Remake did, which makes sense because they were literally released a year apart. And it kind of shows, but anything positive that I had to say about the RE2 remake, I can say about this, down to the graphics, down to the environment and the atmosphere, down to the designs of the monsters, of the zombies, Nemesis, all of the things that from Resident Evil 2 transfer here. Like, literally, there are moments to where you go through the same areas that you went through in Resident Evil 2. Rather, it was the sewers, laboratory, which it is a different laboratory, but it's basically the same thing as for Resident Evil 2. There's a lot of moments to where you go through this game, what you already went through in Resident Evil 2. And honestly, that's not a bad thing because I really love the Resident Evil 2 remake, and go watch that if you haven't already. I really love that game, so be able to replay a few sections in this game that you already played didn't really bother me at all when I was playing this game. So yeah, anything I had to say about Resident Evil 2, you could say here, down to graphics, atmosphere, literally anything. It's basically the exact same game, just with a few new characters and enemies. Basically, it was what it is, which is why it's called 3. And of course, let's talk about him. Let's talk about the star of the show, the big name that is on this game, Nemesis. Literally in Resident Evil 3, the original title is titled Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, which I'm glad they kind of cut that part out because it makes it feel like that the game is him, like you're playing as Nemesis. That's what it feels like to me. But Nemesis, he is probably I think when it comes to the face of, like, the villain of Resident Evil 3, like when people think of villains of Resident Evil, they instantly think of Nemesis for good reasons too. Nemesis is probably one of the most badass video game villains out there because his literal mission is basically to kill all S.T.A.R.S members because because he's chasing down Jill because I'm pretty sure that she's the last S.T.A.R.S member that's alive in Raccoon City. Who knows what the fuck happened to Chris? And so basically his whole aim of the game is just to hunt down Jill and kill her because she is a S.T.A.R.S member, which Umbrella created to kill all the S.T.A.R.S members, which I can't remember the reason why. Don't fact check me. So yeah, I really think that Nemesis is one of the most badass video game characters, and he is easily the best part about this game because I really love him throughout the game where you're running away from him and when you're fighting him, especially when he's just running around screaming "S.T.A.R.S." Like, that's pretty terrifying and really badass. And then, like, they don't treat him as like Mr. X or something from Resident Evil 2, where he's just a big bad guy just stomping around with big footsteps and just punches you a shit ton. Like, no, this guy, he gets some weapons. He gets fucking a rocket launcher. I'm pretty sure he even gets a flamethrower at one point. Like, this guy carries around weapons. Like, he is on a mission to kill you, and it shows throughout this whole game. And I think that is awesome. Now, to a point, I do kind of wish that they kind of treated him like Mr. X, to where like he doesn't like Mr. X in Resident Evil 2. He didn't have like some coded pattern that he walks around, like he's basically just free. Like they don't have him coded to walk in certain areas. Like he goes wherever the hell he wants. And honestly, I kind of wish they did that with Nemesis, because I felt like that would have been a really cool thing. That would have been really cool, to where if he were to show up randomly and you didn't know it, because he shows up at certain points throughout the game. Now, yeah, there are moments where he's chasing you down like Mr. X, which is absolutely terrifying and nearly makes you shit your pants. But at some points, I do kind of wish that they did have him show up just randomly, just to have for the scares of it, for the survival horror fact of it. I would have liked that, but at the same time, I understand why they did it. Overall, even without that, Nemesis is an absolutely terrifying creature in this game, and he's absolutely terrifying throughout the whole game. And I think that his design alone is just badass, especially like at the very beginning of the game, the very start of it. He's already trying to kill you. Like the big opening of this game is him chasing you down throughout this whole apartment, throughout the whole apartment, and you don't get saved until Carlos shows up and shoots him with a rocket launcher, and that still doesn't even kill him. Nemesis is a tough dude throughout this game. So yeah, Nemesis, he's the best part about this game, if you ask me. He is the face when it comes to villains of Resident Evil. Leon is the face of Resident Evil, and Nemesis is the face of the villains. That and Wesker. And when it comes down to the characters of this game, I really enjoy them. It's really cool to see Jill Valentine coming back, because this is the first time you see her since the first game, since the whole Spencer Mansion thing happened, which it's kind of cool to see her go from this like kind of scared cop. There's something in my nose. This like scared like rookie like cop in the first game, to being this like total badass. And what is going on with my nose? This total badass like character in this game, to where she's just like taking out zombies like they're nothing, like escaping Nemesis like he's nothing, and just like fighting him like he's nothing too. Jill in this game is an absolute badass, and I really like what they do with her in this game after her experience with Spencer Mansion. Like you think she would be like this like traumatized like final girl, kind of something similar to like Laurie Strode in like Halloween 2 or something like that, where she's kind of traumatized and doesn't really fight for herself all that much. But no, she like learned from that experience from the first game, and like really built off of that, which is why I kind of want a Resident Evil 1 remake so I could see this version of Jill. But we can't, because they won't do it. They're getting Code Veronica and Resident Evil 0 for some fucking reason. I'm excited for Code Veronica. Zero, not so much. I didn't care for that game. But however, I think that Jill is an absolute badass in this game, and I think this is the game that really made people really like fall in love with Jill for very good reasons. And the other character for the protagonist, or I guess he's the other antagonist. The protagonist is Nemesis. So excuse me. And the other protagonist with Carlos, who, from what I heard, he is a huge upgrade in this game compared to the original, because basically in the original he doesn't do shit. He doesn't really show up much. He's not really that useful, I guess you can say. But in this game, he has a much bigger role and does a lot more, and does a lot more with Jill, like partnering up with her and doing things with her. So yeah, and just in general, I like Carlos. I think he's a pretty cool character. He's kind of like a badass. He's kind of charming. Like they kind of hint at some sort of sexual tension between Jill and Carlos. A little moments, like a little bit of romantic interest, but they don't go far with it, which I'm kind of glad they don't, because I don't really think those two should be romantically. Um, like they shouldn't have any chemistry to where it's romantic in a way, I guess I could say. But I really enjoy Carlos because he's like that badass in this game. And what's funny is that Carlos's voice actor in this is Chris's voice actor Resident Evil Village, which that's funny to me. I noticed that when I replayed these games earlier this year and late last year. I was just like, oh, that's the same voice actor, which I think that's kind of cool. But yeah, I really enjoy Carlos as a character. I think he's a nice a little addition to this franchise. I don't think you see him outside of this game. I don't think he shows up after this game, which it's a bummer, but it doesn't really seem like it affected anything. But yeah, the two main characters in this game, the two protagonists, they are pretty enjoyable, and they are a lot of fun to play. And speaking of Carlos, and I talked about this earlier as well, of going back to certain areas that you already played in Resident Evil 2. I really enjoyed going back to the police station in this game. It's a very small section that you play as Carlos, but to go to the police station again as Carlos and kind of look for this doctor that supposedly has like a cure for the T virus or something like that. I can't remember. It's been a little bit since I played this game, but I played it in like September, I'm pretty sure, is when I last played it. So yeah, you go to the police station looking for this doctor, and I thought it was just really cool to go through the PlayStation, the police station. God, what the fuck am I saying? Through the police station, because since you already played Resident Evil 2, you already know where you're going, you already know what to do, and it's really cool to show up as Carlos there because it's right before Leon shows up. Like, there's like when you walking through the door, you see the guy hanging on the pole or whatever, which when you're playing as Leon, you walk up and you see him hanging there. But in this game, you see how he got up there, and it was from a liquor. And the liquor show up, and I just really thought it was cool to go to the police station as Carlos to see what it looked like before Leon got there, which not much really changed, but it was, enough basically. But yeah, just going back to the police station was just fun because I really that is my favorite setting in the entire franchise, and it's my favorite part of Resident Evil 2, which I know I keep bringing that up, but it's hard not to because these are basically the same fucking games because they released a year apart. But yeah, I really enjoyed going back to the police station. I just thought it was cool because, again, it's just one of my favorite settings. And plus, you get to play as Carlos, and he gets a machine gun. And a very small thing that they added in this game, which I'm very glad that they did, because when you play Resident Evil games, this frustrates you, and that is adding the dodge button. I am very happy that is a thing in this game because when you are playing Resident Evil, I think all of us as a collective that have played these games could say it is so annoying that you get grabbed by the zombies. And this game gives you the option to dodge them so you don't get grabbed, so you don't get attacked, so you don't get injured, especially when you get chased as Nemesis throughout the game. Like, you get to dodge them so you don't take significant damage, and you can also dodge zombies so they don't grab you or anything. I am very glad that that is a thing in this game because it is so annoying when zombies grab you and bite you, and then you gotta heal. It pisses me off. But I'm very glad that they add that in this game, because I'm pretty sure when Resident Evil 2 came out, a lot of people were saying, oh, they should add a dodge button, and they did in this game. It's a very small thing that they added, but it's something that I'm really glad is in this game. And I really wish it was in more Resident Evil games, but we don't get nice things. But now moving on to my negatives, and like I said at the very beginning of this video, I have not played the original game, so I don't really know the differences throughout this game to compare to the original and the remake. But I will say, and I am in that I am in with that big group of people saying that this game is too short. Like, this game at average is like maybe 4.5 hours long if you know what you're doing. Like, if you're playing this for the first time and you have a subtle idea what you're doing, it's like 4.5 hours long. If you're taking your time, it's like 5. And if you're speed running this game, you could probably get it done within an hour and a half. And I'm not even joking on that. Like, this is a very short game, and it's unfortunate.
That's it? That's the last episode? That was just a bunch of cheap walk cycles!
Because Resident Evil games are like long. They're like most Resident Evil games are around 10 hours long at best. That is that a 10-hour long Resident Evil game is probably the shortest you get. Like, the longest is like 16. And like the new one that we're getting is supposedly around 18 hours long, which when people say that's long, that's like an average length Resident Evil game. But this game is just way too short. And from what I hear, this game cut out a lot of sections in the game, from the original game, because apparently in the original there was like some sort of clock tower that you had to go through and avoid Nemesis in, which I think that would have been awesome to see in this game from what from what I heard from that, but unfortunately we didn't. And just in general, this game is just so short to where, since you know some of these sections, since you already played them in the Resident Evil 2 remake, since you know what you're doing, since you know where you're going, you know what kind of situation you're in, you can get by it very quickly, and that's kind of unfortunate because this game, I really enjoy it for what it is, but if it was just a bit longer and they added a little bit more to play and a little bit more to do, I think that a lot more people would say that they love this game, and I honestly think that a lot more people would have this in like their top 5 Resident Evil games of all time. Like, this had the potential to be that, but unfortunately, since it was so short and so rushed, and you can definitely tell it released a year after the previous one, you can definitely tell by that, and that's very unfortunate, which I don't know why they decided to rush it. I guess since Resident Evil 2 was such a huge success and they had all the parts that they needed for this and they had all the equipment they needed for this game, which never rush perfection, people. That is the main thing that we learn from media. Never rush it, because if you rush it, it doesn't end up too good. But hey, who am I kidding? There are some people in life that actually live their life and don't have time for 16-hour games, which are losers. Who doesn't have time for 16 hours? Fucking posers. And my final negative, and it's a pretty big one if you ask me. Now, I love Nemesis. I talked about him. I said that he's the face when it comes to villains of Resident Evil. He is the best part about this game, but he's also one of the weakest parts about the game because Nemesis is really the only villain that you encounter in this game, other than some zombies and some hunters and Nikolai, I guess you could say. There isn't any other villains in this game, and that's very unfortunate because literally every single boss fight in this game is Nemesis. But in other Resident Evil games, there was like maybe 3 or 4 different bosses and different enemies to fight. Like in the first game, you had the snake, you had the plant monster, you had the tyrant, you had different boss battles in that. And then moving on to games like Resident Evil 4, that game has a lot of them. Like I can like more than I can have on my hand probably. Like there's a lot of boss fight in that. There's a lot of enemies in this. Literally there are just 4 separate boss fights just for Nemesis. And
Boring!
to a point, I understand that because I do know that this game is about Nemesis versus Jill. That's literally what this game is. But at the same time, I'm like, couldn't you have added like some other villains in this? Hell, maybe Nikolai, maybe he took the T-Virus and something happens there to where you have to fight him now or something. Like, sure, that might not have been cool, but literally anything would have been cool if you asked me. I would have loved to see more villains outside of Nemesis. Nemesis is great, but when you have to fight him 4 different times when he's literally the only villain you fight, it gets tedious and boring and repetitive. Overall, guys, I really enjoy the Resident Evil 3 remake. I do think that it is a pretty good remake for what it is. I do think it is short, and unfortunately, that does really kind of hold back the enjoyment of this. And especially since with the game that came before it, you probably had bigger expectations for it as well. But I do still think that it is still a playable Resident Evil game, and I do still think it's worth your time if you're a Resident Evil fan. I don't replay it as much as the other Resident Evil games, but I do enjoy it when I do replay it. I enjoy the game for what it is. I do think that it could have been a lot better, but what we got of it, I am happy with it, and I do enjoy it. So what do you guys think about Resident Evil 3 Remake? Have you played it? What do you think about it? Do you like this game? Do you not like this game? Are you disappointed by this game? Are you one of those people that think that it's actually one of the best in the franchise? Let me know in the comments below, and we shall talk about it. And if you like this video, like it. If you love to subscribe, hit the bell notification so you will get notified for all of my latest videos. And of course, until my next video, I'll see you all next time.